Salam sejahtera, anda bersama Sani Rozman dan ini Niaga AWANI. Kita mulakan dengan perkembangan ini terlebih dahulu dengan jumlah transaksi yang dijana menerusi sumbangan asas rahmah SARA, kes penipuan melibatkan transaksi jual beli dan inisiatif terbaharu dalam memperluas skop perlindungan sosial menjadi antara tumpuan perbincangan di Dewan Rakyat hari ini. Menurut aturan mesyuarat Parlimen, isu berkenaan akan dibangkitkan dalam sesi soal jawab lisan yang dijadual bermula 10 pagi.
Datuk Seri Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, PH Sekijang mengajukan soalan kepada Menteri Kewangan berhubung jumlah peruntukan program SARA melalui sistem MyKasih yang dibelanjakan sepanjang 2025 serta nilai sebenar transaksi dijana dalam pasaran tempatan. Dr. Zaliha juga ingin tahu status baki bantuan tidak dibelanjakan penerima hingga tarikh luput 31 Disember 2025 dan pelan penambahbaikan sistem bagi 2026. Dalam sesi sama, Kalam Salan PN Sabak Bernam meminta Menteri Sumber Manusia menyatakan jaminan kerajaan bahawa penempatan unit transformasi masyarakat India Malaysia di bawah kementerian itu tidak akan menjejaskan kepentingan, kebajikan serta keberkesanan pelaksanaan agenda berkaitan kaum India. Sementara itu, V. Ganabatirau, PH Kelang bertanyakan kepada Menteri Perpaduan Negara sama ada kerajaan bercadang untuk mewujudkan satu mekanisme atau badan penyelarasan pada peringkat nasional bagi mengurus dan menyelaras hal ehwal agama selain Islam, khususnya berkaitan isu tabir urus rumah ibadat, pematuhan undang-undang, mediasi konflik komuniti dan keharmonian antara agama. Pada sesi soal jawab, Datuk Rosul Wahid, PN Hulu Terengganu mengemukakan pertanyaan kepada Menteri Perdagangan Dalam Negeri dan Kos Sara Hidup tentang jumlah kes penipuan melibatkan transaksi jual beli yang dilaporkan sejak 2023 hingga kini dan jumlah kes yang dikenakan tindakan mahkamah dalam tempoh itu serta jenis hukuman dikenakan. Turut tersenara ialah soalan Datuk Seri Syah Muhammad Puzi Shah Ali, BN Pekan kepada Menteri Sumber Manusia berhubung inisiatif terbaru dalam memperluas skop perlindungan sosial kepada pekerja termasuk golongan pekerja gig, kontrak dan separuh masa yang masih terpinggir. Persidangan Dewan Rakyat berlangsung selama 20 hari hingga 3 Mac ini.
Kemasukan kenderaan elektrik EV yang diimport ke Malaysia akan ditumpukan kepada segmen mewah bagi memastikan industri automotif tempatan terus terpelihara dan mengelak pasaran dibanjiri kenderaan murah. Menteri Pelaburan Perdagangan dan Industri Datuk Seri Johari Abdul Ghani berkata, pengeluar yang ingin memasuki pasaran Malaysia harus menawarkan EV berkelas tinggi. Manakala kenderaan harga rendah dan sederhana akan terus dibangunkan oleh syarikat tempatan.
Kita tengok banyak daripada komponen-komponen ni kita banyak masih lagi import. So over the period of time, kita nak kena tengok macam mana negara kita ni boleh menjadi satu hub untuk ekspor all these komponen-komponen dengan kita berjalan sekali sama dengan kita punya car manufacturer.
Beliau berkata demikian pada Majlis Pelancaran Proton eMAS 7 PHEV pada Rabu. Johari berkata pencapaian jumlah volume industri TIV negara pada 2025 mencatat rekod tertinggi iaitu 820,752 unit menunjukkan pemulihan kukuh pasca pandemik. Selain itu, perkembangan pesat pasaran kenderaan elektrik dan hybrid XEV menunjukkan perubahan pilihan pengguna dengan jualan XEV meningkat 52% tahun lalu. XEV kini merangkumi 8.5% daripada jualan kereta baharu dan kerajaan sedia mendengar cadangan industri bagi teknologi hybrid bagi membangunkan ekosistem automotif tempatan yang mampan.
Payments Network Malaysia sedang berhad pengenali sistem pembayaran duit Now QR melantik Pravin Rajan sebagai Ketua Pegawai Eksekutif baharu berkuat kuasa 1 Februari 2026. Beliau menggantikan Farhan Ahmad yang meletak jawatan pada 31 Januari 2026 sebagai sebahagian daripada peralihan kepimpinan yang dirancang oleh syarikat.
Pravin berkata beliau akan membina kekuatan sedia ada syarikat dengan pelaksanaan lebih teratur dan jelas, meningkatkan ketahanan operasi serta memperkukuh pelibatan dengan pemain industri dan rakan kongsi di sektor utama bagi memacu ekonomi digital Malaysia. Katanya paling penting adalah meneruskan kesinambungan projek sedia ada serta peranan pasukan PNET yang komited dalam memastikan transisi berjalan lancar. Sebelum menyertai PNET, Pravin merupakan Ketua Pegawai Perniagaan Pengguna di Salcom DG Berhad dengan pengalaman luas dalam mengurus perkhidmatan digital dan pembayaran elektronik. Ditubuhkan pada 2017, PNET memainkan peranan penting dalam sistem kewangan negara dan kehidupan seharian rakyat Malaysia melalui pelbagai infrastruktur pembayaran termasuk sistem Duit Now QR. Syarikat ini dimiliki 35.5% oleh Bank Negara Malaysia dan 11 institusi kewangan tempatan lain termasuk Malayan Banking Berhad, bank terbesar mengikut aset di negara ini. Ujar Pravin, beliau telah bekerjasama rapat dengan pasukan yang komited sepanjang 2 bulan lepas. Dengan pengalaman luas dalam sektor telekomunikasi dan pembayaran digital, pelantikan Pravin dijangka akan memperkukuh kedudukan PNET dalam memacu inovasi sistem pembayaran sambil menyokong transformasi digital Malaysia ke arah ekonomi yang lebih berdaya saing.
Insentif Kementerian Sumber Manusia Kesuma memperkenalkan laluan baharu yang membolehkan majikan Malaysia menggaji pekerja asing secara terus. Langkah yang dilihat penting bagi membendung kos pengambilan berlebihan, isu ketelusan serta mengelak eksploitasi pekerja asing oleh pihak perantara. Presiden Persekutuan Majikan-Majikan Malaysia MEF, Datuk Dr. Syed Husman berkata, perbincangan dengan beberapa kedutaan asing menunjukkan persetujuan meluas terhadap keperluan rangka kerja pengambilan pekerja yang mengurangkan kos tidak perlu, menyingkirkan orang tengah dan memastikan pekerja memahami serta bersetuju dengan terma pekerjaan sebelum tiba di Malaysia. Beliau menegaskan tenaga buruh asing kekal sebagai sumber penting kepada ekonomi negara, khususnya dalam sektor yang masih kurang penyertaan tenaga kerja tempatan. Katanya MEF yakin model kerajaan kekerajaan yang dicadangkan disokong teknologi termasuk pengesahan digital dan mekanisme pembayaran selamat mampu meningkatkan tabik urus buruh negara jika dilaksanakan secara konsisten dan melalui perundingan bersama pihak berkepentingan. Syed Hussein juga memuji Menteri Sumber Manusia Datuk Seri Ramanan atas kepimpinan proaktif dalam menangani cabaran majikan dan pekerja asing. Beliau berkata MEF menyokong agar semua hal berkaitan buruh berada di bawah Kesuma manakala keperluan imigresen kekal di bawah bidang kuasa KDN. Pelaburan tidak lagi diukur sekadar pada angka kelulusan tetapi pada berapa besar limpahan sebenar kepada industri tempatan. Kerajaan kini mengubah pendekatan insentif dengan menilai hasil bukan sekadar janji menerusi pelaksanaan kerangka insentif baharu NIF. Kementerian Pelaburan, Perdagangan dan Industri MITI menegaskan tahap penggunaan produk tempatan dalam projek pelaburan sama ada pelaburan asing atau domestik kini diukur dan dipantau secara lebih tersusun berasaskan indikator kuantitatif serta kualitatif. Pendekatan ini memastikan komitmen tidak lagi sekadar deklarasi di atas kertas. Sebaliknya diterjemahkan kepada bukti yang rakyat boleh rasa. Lebih banyak penyumbaran tempatan, pelibatan PKS dalam rantaian bekalan, pembangunan vendor, pemindahan pengetahuan dan paling penting peluang pekerjaan tempatan yang lebih baik. Dan menurut Timbalan Menteri Minti, pemantauan dilaksanakan dari peringkat pra-kelulusan hingga pasca kelulusan dengan libat urus berterusan bersama pelabur dan vendor tempatan bagi memastikan setiap projek benar-benar memberi nilai tambah kepada ekonomi domestik bukan sekadar bawa masuk modal. Untuk bantu kita fahami kenapa isu ini dekat di hati rakyat, kerangka baharu ini sebenarnya menentukan siapa yang benar mendapat manfaat daripada pelaburan bukan hanya angka pelaburan masuk tetapi sejauh mana ia mengalir kepada industri tempatan, pekerja, rantaian bekalan dan ekonomi negara. Kita mempersilakan tetamu yang sudah bersedia adalah Tanis Kana, Pengarah Eksekutif Tratek. Saya nak ucapkan terima kasih. Tanis, sudah tentu mungkin kalau kita dengar apabila pengumuman kerangka baharu, adakah lebih susah ataupun adakah tambah perkara-perkara baru daripada segi birokrasi, tapi mungkin bantu kami faham daripada kerangka baharu, insentif kerangka baru dengan kerangka yang sudah ada ni, apa bezanya sebenarnya?
Okey, terima kasih. Yang kita ada sekarang ni Akta Galakan Pelaburan 1986. 1986 ni dah 40 tahun lebih kurang lah.
40 years ago.
So dari masa itu sampai sekarang ekonomi kita dah diversify macam-macam. That's why tahun lalu walaupun ada macam-macam geopolitical tension, kita punya ekonomi masih stable sebab diversified. So memang Akta Galakan Pelaburan menepati matlamat pada tahun 1986. Tapi pada 2026 ni kita kena lagi open. So kita ada kerangka baru, kita panggil NIF, New Incentive Framework, yang ada 6 pilar dan 24 indikator yang mengalu-alukan pelaburan dari pelbagai sektor atau subsektor, bukan saja satu promoted list atau promoted area lagi, dan dia berdasarkan outcome based. So bukan sekadar membawa masuk dana, tapi kena ada outcome. Dan jika outcome yang pelabur itu jangka tidak dapat dicapai, maka galakan yang didapat pula adalah pada kadar yang lagi rendah.
Okey.
Itu mekanisme yang ada elemen self-monitoring dan adjustment di sana lah.
Baik, ini untuk kita memahamilah perbezaan rangka kerja baharu yang 40 tahun lepas mengambil kira ekonomi, bukan ekonomi domestik tapi ekonomi dunia pun sudah berubah dan pelbagai. Jadi sudah tentu persoalannya kalau kita lihat daripada kerangka baharu ni ada yang mengatakan berbeza SCR versus ITA. Di bawah NIF, syarikat perlu memilih sama ada nak special tax rate, SCR ataupun investment tax allowance ITA bagi setiap projek. Jadi sejauh manakah pilihan ini yang bersifat mutually eksklusif yang boleh menghadkan strategi pelabur khususnya bagi projek yang berintensifkan modal dan teknologi tinggi?
Okay. Kebanyakan insentif yang diberi, dia ada satu choice kepada satu pilihan yang boleh dibuat oleh pelabur. Tak kiralah FDI, pelabur asing atau DDI, pelabur tempatan, di mana dia nak berdasarkan berdasarkan pendapatan dia. Dulu dia dapat satu pengecualian pendapatan, tapi sekarang kita tak beri pengecualian pendapatan tetapi kita kasih special tax rate, iaitu kadar cukai yang lebih rendah. Daripada kadar biasa 24%, kini dia memberi either 0, 5 atau 15 berdasarkan performance dalam NIF punya scorecard.
Okey.
Itu untuk STR. Untuk investment tax allowance pula dia berdasarkan capital, capex. So pihak industri boleh membuat kiraan.
Okey, baik. Sorry, Tanish, saya baru sahaja terima perkembangan bahawa Forum Ekonomi Dunia tengah berjalan langsung dan sekarang ini tengah dirasmikan oleh Menteri Ekonomi YB dan kita akan teruskan dengan ucapan FEM 2026 untuk ucapan pembukaan Menteri Ekonomi. Kita teruskan.
Demonstrating disciplined public finance management. Malaysia's economy is also increasingly integrated with the global market. Total approved investments for the 9 months of 2025 reached 285 billion ringgit, signaling strong domestic and foreign investor confidence. Yet, even with these achievements, the global and regional landscape presents uncertainties. Inflationary pressures, rising interest rates, geopolitical tensions, and the rapid pace of technological change continue to affect markets and households alike. Artificial intelligence, automation, and digital transformation are reshaping industries, while regional neighbors are accelerating reforms to attract talent and investment. In this context, Malaysia must not only respond but stand tall and lead. So looking ahead, FEM 2026, with the theme Accelerating Growth, Advancing Malaysia, is anchored on the ambitions of the 13 Malaysia Plan. RMK13 will shape national development and economic growth over the next 5 years, providing a clear roadmap for infrastructure, human capital, innovation, industrial advancements, and sustainability. There are a lot of things on my plate. It's actually less than 2 months. So FEM plays a role by bringing stakeholders together to generate evidence-based solutions that can be translated into actionable recommendations for national planning. This year, FEM 2026 will focus on priorities that will shape our economy for years to come. First, how AI and technology can raise productivity, improve public services, and create new industries. Second, how the energy transition can progress while keeping energy affordable and reliable. Third, how health and housing reforms can strengthen equitable access and quality living standards. Fourth, how trade and investment can remain competitive attract high-value capital, and expand exports. And fifth, how we prepare a future-ready workforce, addressing demographic realities such as an aging population while nurturing future talent. These collective inputs are distilled into actionable recommendations that fit directly into national planning. In this way, FEM 2026 is more than discussions. It is a critical mechanism for shaping policies, guiding investments, and prioritizing initiatives that will drive sustainable growth, inclusive development, and long-term prosperity for Malaysia. For investors, FEM 2026 signals policy seriousness, execution credibility, and institutional coordination. For the public, success is measured through tangible improvements, including job creation, income growth, reduce regional disparities, enhance public services, and progress on cost of living, housing, energy transition, and productivity. At the national level, the implementation of the MyRMK system under the 13 Malaysia Plan enables real-time outcome-based monitoring with each project assigned clear ownership, timelines, budgets, and KPIs. FEM also accelerates delivery through open, data-driven scrutiny of policy progress, positioning the forum as a national report card on implementation performance. By integrating dialogue with systematic monitoring and accountability, FEM ensures its recommendations evolve from discussions to actionable policy with measurable impact. So these are not abstract policy questions. They affect the daily life, jobs, wages, cost of living, home, health, and opportunities for the next generation. This is why Forum Economy Malaysia matters. It helps us ask the hard questions, difficult questions, and challenge assumptions so policies deliver real outcomes. So I encourage each of you to engage fully, to share insights, to challenge conventions, and to collaborate across sectors. Let FEM be a forum of honest, constructive, and meaningful dialogue. When we come together with clarity, courage, and commitment, Malaysia will not only meet the challenges ahead, but emerge stronger, more resilient, and more prosperous than ever. That is a very good way to start our day today. So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our principal strategic partners, Maybank and Bursa Malaysia. We can give them a round of applause. Strategic partner, HSBC Bank, and supporting partners, AIIB and MBSB, for their collaboration and contribution in organizing today's event. So I wish all of you a productive, inspiring, and engaging discourse. May today's discussion help chart a path toward an economy that is inclusive, innovative, and sustainable, and may Malaysia continue to embody the spirit and vision of Madani. Once again, thank you very much for your time today, and I would like to welcome all of you to the FEM 2026. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Yang Berhormat Tuan Haji Akbar Nasrullah bin Muhammad Azim, Minister of Economy, for the opening remarks.
Baik, itu adalah antara ucapan pembukaan Menteri Ekonomi Forum Ekonomi Dunia 2026. Yang pertama untuk Menteri Ekonomi baru Akmal Nasrullah Muhammad Nasir, sudah tu perincangannya akan kami bawakan dari semasa ke semasa. Tetapi kami akan terus sambung untuk membincangkan mengenai kerangka insentif baru. Tadi saya dikongsikan perbezaan antara kerangka lama dengan kerangka sedia ada dengan kerangka baru. Okey, mungkin boleh sambung apabila kita bercakap di bawah NIF ada kata bila satu projek kena pilih satu bentuk jenis cukai, SCR ataupun ITA. Tapi bagaimana untuk kita fahami okey SCR ni mana yang patut ataupun mana ITA yang lebih berbaloi? Bantu kami faham bagaimana untuk memudahkan pemilihan mereka.
So kita berdasarkan pengiraan di mana satu yang memberi manfaat yang lebih banyak untuk pihak industri dan juga kepastian, certainty. Selalunya ITA berdasarkan amount pelaburan, so dia ada lagi kepastian. Itu yang diambil kira. Tapi secara keseluruhan, NIF ni dia saling kait dengan ucapan pembukaan tadi, walaupun YB Menteri Ekonomi dan NIF ni bawa MAIDA, dibawa MITI, dia saling hubung kait. Konsep dia yang paling penting dia nak bawa ni, dia nak ambil konsep-konsep yang nampak macam abstrak dan dia memberi 24 indikator yang khusus. So dia memberi satu transparansi kepada pelabur yang berminat. So dia nak kata, okey, bila kita kata kita nak attract quality investment, apa maksudnya? Kita tengok economic complexity itu, kita berdasarkan metrik yang khusus daripada Harvard. Contoh, dia dah katakan dalam dokumen ni. Itu yang bagus daripada tadi nak tanyakan ini adakah tabah rated, tapi kat sekarang kita perlu berbincangan dengan pihak industri, dia mengalukan sebab dia memberi satu transparansi, satu clarity. Ini 24 indikator yang khusus. Bila kita kata sustainable practices, apa? Kita tengok pada waste management, water waste dan sebagainya. Dia tak khususkan apa yang elemen yang diambil kira. Bila kita nak kata diversity, apa indikator yang khusus? Okey, women in top management, itu satu. Vulnerable people in overall workforce, dia dah define dah. Vulnerable tu apa maksudnya? Dia pun dah define. Okey, disabled, ex-convict dan sebagainya. Dan bila kita kata kita nak quality job, itu konsep. Tapi apa maksud quality job? Dia dah masukkan, okey, kita tengok kadar pekerjaan di mana gajinya lebih 10,000 sebulan. So dia ada metrik yang khusus yang memberi transparansi dan certainty kepada pelabur yang berminat untuk melabur di Malaysia.
24 indicators is quite a lot to fulfill, and it's not easy considering a lot of aspect for businesses to adhere to. But we know that these 24 indicators will convince and lebih meyakinkan kepada pelabur-pelabur di luar sana untuk melabur. Okey, kita ada lihat setiap indikator ni, okeylah kita tahu ini worth the investment, berbaloi untuk jangka panjang. Tetapi mungkin 24 indikator ni susah, macam banyak KPI untuk syarikat follow. Jadi macam lama-lama mereka macam leceh lah nak apply. Itu satu. Mungkin yang kedua, melihat kepada, okey, saya dah ticks all the box tapi saya tak nampak perubahan yang hasil nyata. Jadi bantu kami faham bagaimana untuk kita menangani ataupun meimbangi antara dua-dua situasi ini.
Okey, so 24 indikator ni sebenarnya bagi saya bagus sebab dia memberi satu flexibility kepada pelabur yang kata mungkin 24 ni 10 ini dia boleh bagi komitmen yang lagi tinggi. Lagi 14 bergantung. Kadang ada yang moderate, ada yang dia tak boleh commit sangat. So dia memberi satu flexibility. Andai kata kalau kerajaan menentukan 10 indikator saja, so dia rigid.
Okay,
kalau dia boleh perform on area lain, dia tak ada scope nak tampil diri kepada untuk so that is the konsep dia. NIF ni tidak mengatakan okey 24 ni semua ni ada watermark minimum, bukan. Dia kata bila you nak dapatkan satu tax incentive daripada kerajaan, ada revenue loss to the government. So dia kata you tell me what is your commitment on these 24 aspect. Berdasarkan tu kita akan membuat penilaian. So dia tak kata you kena ada satu watermark minimum.
Okey.
Watermark minimum ada jugalah untuk sektor-sektor tertentu. Dia kata okey, untuk sektor ni untuk satu pekerja kena ada investment capex 140,000. Itu untuk sektor-sektor tertentu. Tapi tak adalah kata ni 24 pun ada satu watermark minimum yang kena dipenuhi sebelum pelabur boleh diambil kira. Tidak, bukan macam tu.
Dan ni saya nak pergi secara khusus lagi mengikut sektor industri. Kalau kita lihat NIF ni akan mula dengan sektor pembuatan dan pada suku kedua 2026 akan bermula pula dengan sektor perkhidmatan. Dan sektor servis sektor is quite big, luas. Kita ada data, pusat data, banking, digital, fintech and share services. Jadi adakah kerangka ataupun framework ni fits for all ataupun we need a different indicator for each?
Memang sudah pasti untuk perkhidmatan dia ada indikator yang berbeza. Sebab tu yang NIF yang dikeluarkan pada bulan Januari atau minggu lalu adalah untuk sektor pembuatan sahaja. Ia berkuat kuasa dari 1 Mac. Tapi untuk sektor perkhidmatan dia dalam suku kedua tahun ni dia akan ada kriterianya yang sendiri.
Okey, mungkin akhir sekali nak kongsikan dengan kerangka baharu NIF ni, adakah ia akan buat pelabur untuk rush sekarang ataupun ada risiko yang boleh mungkin jadi a bit rushing, kelang kabut dan boleh melambatkan lagi pipeline pelaburan under NIF ini? Apa pandangan Tinis mengenai perkara ini?
Okey, pertama impact ni adalah hanya untuk cut off date 28 Februari ni, hanya untuk insentif di bawah Akta Galakan Pelaburan 1986. Insentif lain, contoh Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone, Global Services Hub, sebegitu tidak di-impact. Sebab yang itu adalah package tertentu di bawah Akta Cukai Pendapatan yang ini tidak terganggu. 28 Februari bukan satu tarikh yang relevan untuk insentif-insentif sebegitu yang ada package di bawah Akta Cukai Pendapatan. So ini impact khusus untuk Akta Galakan Pelaburan sahaja, di mana dia dah buat khususnya untuk yang dah buat satu application, tapi di dalam query stage dia kena attend ASAP sekarang, sebab dia kena complete lah sebelum 28 Februari. Bagi pelaburan baru, saya rasa kalau boleh NIF lagi transparent.
Lagi transparent. Itulah paling penting, bergerak ke hadapan. Dalam apa jua untuk kita menarik taburan berkualiti, paling penting adalah untuk kita transparent, memberi penerangan yang jelas bukan sahaja para pelabur tapi kepada syarikat dan keseluruhan ekosistem pelaburan dan sistem cukai itu sendiri. Sekali lagi saya nak ucapkan terima kasih kepada Tanish Kana, pengarah eksekutif Tratex, dan untuk pelabur dan syarikat di luar sana tak perlu risau, gusar, dan anda boleh dapatkan perbincangan penuh untuk memahami lebih mengenai NIF, kerangka insentif baharu ini bersama Tanish Kana. Anda boleh dapatkan di astro.com dan di semua platform digital Astro AWANI. Dan sekian saja perkongsian kita pada kali ini, dan selepas ini rakan tugas Ibrahim Sani akan mengambil alih dan membawakan perkembangan The Economy with Ibrahim Sani selepas ini.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Cara kita mendapat berita kian berubah. Melalui media sosial maupun saluran digital yang lain serta kaca TV. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini.
Kita buat sesuatu yang berbeza.
Berteraskan acuan verifikasi yang diamalkan supaya setiap fakta adalah sahih. Daripada analisis pelbagai sudut yang mendalam, laporan-laporan khas dan perbincangan yang membina negara. Inklusif, suara rakyat kami ajukan. Keseimbangan persepsi kami pastikan. Kerana setiap cerita mempunyai impak yang tersendiri dan perlu dibawa dengan penelitian yang terperinci. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada. Saluran berita paling dipercayai di Malaysia.
Thank you for joining us. This is The Economy. I'm your host, Ibrahim, Sani. 2026 is also quite a year for Malaysia as we are grappling with the silver economy status. We're also trying to understand a little bit better in terms of how we're managing the reproductive rate. That stands at 2.1 right now, barely making it in terms of trying to break through growing the population, and of course trying to see how the healthcare sector is going to impact the economy. Here to discuss this and more is the renowned professor, Dr. Muralidharan Munisamy, or Dr. Murali, as we all know him. The last time I spoke to him was roughly about 4 or 5 years ago, so it's a good time to catch up on things. Dr. Murali, very recently you wrote on a very interesting piece in the Edge, where you talk about the economics of healthcare and how healthcare and health is impacting the economy. Maybe you would like to walk through with us in terms of what was the genesis or the philosophy behind you coming up with that op-ed on how healthcare is impacting the economy and vice versa.
Lovely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be on anything with you, really. I think what the problem is, I think, for two disconnects that I think we keep on facing in terms of with stakeholders, with policymakers, and that. A lot of people think that health is a cost. It's either you go at two ends of the spectrum. They either see healthcare as a cost, it's an expenditure. No one thinks about healthcare as an investment, and that's a case to be made for that as well. But there's also a very interesting perspective now that healthcare is also a big revenue generator. It's also a kind of money earner for individuals, for the country, and that's where there's kind of a disconnect, if you will, between these two very different perspectives of looking at health. But also on an individual level, health impacts us in different ways, economically. So with good health, you're able to generate a lot more income. But you also spend quite a bit of your income on health as well. So it's something which is very correlated, I think very entangled, but people don't kind of understand or actually work towards balancing these things out.
But of course, you look at developed countries, very highly developed countries, you're looking at paternity leave being a mandatory 1 year. Maternity can go up to 2 years. And that's the reason for this, especially when it comes to what do you call this, breastfed babies that have a lifelong impact. For instance, you can see health results, healthcare of the individual reducing risk significantly if it's being breastfed for up to 2 years. So this kind of thinking is also quite important, because it's not a loss on the productivity of the nation when a person, say a mother, takes off for, let's say, 1 year or up to 2 years. It's actually going to save the country
a significant amount.
Absolutely. Economic savings, because then the public healthcare system is reduced, lifelong care is going to be reduced, and you're going to have a much more productive people, a citizen running into the 65 age or 70-year-old age. These are all fantastic lifelong learnings, and we know about this. I'm surprised that we don't apply it here in this country.
Absolutely. I think, as you say, sir, the thing is, people allude to this, they think about it, but no one is kind of incorporating it into how we're actually exercising our kind of fiscal thought processes at all.
Yeah.
So things like, for example, I can even tell you, breastfeeding a child even reduces the risk for the mother to pick up cancer.
Yeah.
So that's another.
So it works both ways.
Absolutely. So there's just a lot of interplays. But in our world, we consider that, hey, kalau 3 bulan not coming to work, it's like, and unfortunately, and this is a sad reality, women on long maternity leaves, or even those who are taking out time from the workforce to take care of their kids, they actually face an imbalance. Their careers never go back to normal. So I
refuse to believe that our current health minister, Dr. Zul, is unaware of this. I'm pretty sure he is. And I'm pretty sure a lot of our friends over at KKM is also thinking about it. And, we have a lot of medically qualified MPs right now being voted into the office of Dewan Rakyat. What is stopping us from changing our healthcare policy to reflect the upside on the economics of things when it comes to healthcare, and having good lifelong healthcare with economic policies?
So, ironically enough, almost all of economic policy lies outside healthcare, and that's the major disconnect. Healthcare actually in this country, the way it's being viewed now, is really sick care. The Ministry of Health should be called the Ministry of Illness, because everything that they govern is around illness. When you're healthy, actually the Ministry of Health has nothing to do with you. In fact, we have very, very little kind of interaction with those who are healthy within the healthcare landscape. But everything to do with keeping you healthy lies outside that. It's with every other ministry, if you will. It's with your workplace, it's with your residential kind of area. So it's within those pockets that we actually have no interaction. And I would say we have a poorer kind of acceptance of healthcare within this ecosystem. So, but once you're sick, off you go. But before that, there's all these different things that you do which impact your healthcare and impact your economic kind of output or your depreciative value, if you will. But these lies outside healthcare. For example, we had a very interesting discussion when the government first came up with this My 50. Remember this idea of I'm paying for you to get public transport. So sure, it's a subsidy, but interestingly, if you compare head to head, us versus Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur especially, versus any other metropolitan city in the world, our commuters just walk a lot less.
Yeah.
So we struggle.
There's a study on that, I just read.
Yeah, absolutely. We struggle to reach 10,000 steps or whatever. If we could, Malaysians would drive into the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Tandas. But see, every other urban city, because you prioritize and you incentivize, that's an economic incentive of public transport, you get an inordinate optimum, like kind of positive gain on health by making people use public transport. But it's a dividend that we don't see or we don't capitalize on.
But still, these are well-founded research.
Yeah, absolutely.
Folks like you and me can talk about this until the cows come home. But yeah, what's stopping us from exemplifying that so-called sick ministry to health ministry?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there is a national policy here that we're not seeing.
Absolutely, and I think one of the kind of takeaways from today's discussion, I think, should be exactly that. Is there a policy overarching kind of cohesively tying kind of health into all policies? By the way, the WHO looks at this very seriously, meaning they have this stand on health in all policies, but how much is it being translated across government? That's I think a good question to.
One item that I saw that is quite interesting in the op-ed that you wrote was the impacts of economics on health, and then later on you wrote the impacts of health on economics, and that interplay is sometimes quite forgotten. What would be the 2 or 3 things that you think we should know of when it comes to health and economics that we must really think about? That just now that you're mentioning, when you're healthy, you got nothing to do with the health ministry. That's perhaps one of the bigger things that I can take away from this conversation. But the 2 or 3 other things that you want to share?
Absolutely. So let me take a workplace perspective. I think this is the kind of, we spend 10 hours at work every day. It's the biggest environment in which a functioning, productive Malaysian is in. So we cover health insurance for our colleagues at work, which essentially does not kick in until they are ill. So we're paying for risk protection, but there's no real health gain per se. Okay. However, in a similar setting, employees or employers actually will balk from, for example, putting up a gym membership, or even, for example, incentivizing their colleagues at work to go and get a health preventive screening. We don't pay for checkups, by the way. People pay out of pocket. So something along that line.
Unless you're C-suite or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even then, it's offered as like by the by kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, even things as simple as that go a long way towards kind of driving the health kind of perspective of a saving that you'd actually get.
And the bizarre part, I'm sorry, I'm already thinking numbers now.
Yeah.
Because what is the cost of a gym membership or health screening as opposed to chronic illness, disease care?
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, it's a fraction, I'm telling you.
Absolutely. And it's so much of a saving that it doesn't even make sense that we don't think about it.
But we don't think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So at best, this is even worse. For example, you get Social Security per CASO. Per CASO offers you health screenings for free at the workplace.
Yeah.
But no one even thinks of kind of even pushing in a program, or for example, making sure that, hey, I would make sure that your KPI this year includes for you to get a health screening, which is already being paid for, at the very minimum. Try to get that sorted out. So it's things like this. We have a lot of programs in different ministries, for example, that could fund some of these things. I mean, screening is not an end-all thing. It's just one of those little things pertaining to health. But even those little things, we can't optimize.
Okay, that's one idea. Yeah. Another idea?
Okay. And now, on a personal level, we always talk about food. Food essentially is what makes all of us, the world go round, especially in Malaysia. But we speak about healthy eating, okay? But healthy eating is not cheap, not in this country. So, and again, there's a lot of skewed kind of perspective that healthy eating is kale. It's, what is this, some bean which is grown on a volcano somewhere at the end of the ocean, but it's not these things at all. It's regular produce, fruits, vegetables, even meat, which is obtained or grown in a healthy environment. And making sure that you get enough amounts of that is something which is almost impossible to do if you are an average, like say even I forget about B40, sir. M40 cannot eat healthy in this country. It's almost impossible. None of our meals are tailored to it. For example, if you walked around even our workplace today, if you wanted a so-called healthy meal, you're talking upwards of 30 ringgit. So what does everyone do? You resort to low value, high fat, high kind of calorie choices. This is something we should be incentivizing again, but this is an area that no one even looks at.
Yeah, because roti canai with dal is what, 3-4 ringgit.
Yeah, absolutely.
A salad or a Greek yogurt with salad is easily 25. Easily.
Yeah, exactly. But why can't a policy like drive something like you don't have Greek yogurt with salad, raita with Kobe juga sebenarnya.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's these kind of things that no one's kind of pushing the envelope on.
Unless you take your own personal awareness seriously now.
Absolutely.
But this is a time that we need to talk about all these items: our workplace, incentivizing healthcare, lifestyle, eating healthy. Also, I think if we haven't gotten the memo yet, we need to actually look at this. Malaysia has the highest non-communicable diseases per ratio, rivaling our friends in India and Sweden for some reason. I don't know why.
I think we've beaten them flat though, but
Oh, really? You have? My data must be 5 years dated now. Yeah. That's one item where NCD is a growing concern. And then cardiovascular illnesses, that's the number one killer in Malaysia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number two being road deaths.
Road deaths.
So,
and the problem with cardiovascular deaths is, this is a horrible thing to say, but I'll say it would be so much cheaper if they died.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm speaking like
really you're a physician.
Yeah, from an economic perspective, it's when they don't die that their families themselves, everybody else has to suffer through the cost of caring for them as well.
Are you kidding me? My God, these are all like.
This is a horrible statement to make, but
no, but it's true.
Truth. Exactly.
It is true, because the care element. I mean, prior to this conversation, I just spoke to the doctor just now. My sister is a consultant rehab physician, and she was telling me the cost of caring for a family member that is chronically ill. It's just insurmountable, and there's only so much that the Ministry of Welfare, Ministry of Health can cover. Basically, if you're in your T20, it's already troublesome or a nuisance in terms of the expense. It is debilitating for an M40, let alone crippling for a B40.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know whether things like, for example, you saw this thing about 1 or 2 weeks ago that there was a little outcry about finally people have started speaking out about during holidays, this is a phenomenon that happens all across Malaysia.
What is it?
During holidays, people dump their old folks into government hospitals.
I don't
So they'll show up to...
So wait, you got to rewind this. What was it?
So during holidays, okay, what happens is Malaysians, all walks of life, cuti.
Enjoy.
So cuti, my elderly parents or something that, or the ill person I'm caring for at home, gets dumped in a kecemasan and then left to be admitted for a couple of days because I got to take a breather. So again, I mean, forget the morality of it and all that. It's a huge problem. But talk about the economics of it. Just that additional load onto public sector healthcare. So it's crazy at a time when during holiday seasons, as you know, that's the time when staffing is low.
Yes.
So you overload overtime, you overload extra working capacity. All this is contributory.
So we shouldn't be, from a national perspective or national policy perspective, we shouldn't be looking at the development expense on the health ministry or the OPEX on the health ministry. We should be looking at other areas like
Absolutely.
Community of Women, Family Development, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Ministry of Economy, because these are the areas that will reduce the load on the health ministry.
Of Health. Absolutely. So what people don't realize is one of the biggest things that contributed to people starting to live longer was clean water and sanitation. Yeah, in the 1900s, it changed the entire kind of landscape of Europe. Clean pipes, nothing to do with the Ministry of Health. Clean drains, nothing to do with the Ministry of Health. And buildings in which people didn't die at night.
Because they put asbestos and lead and everything.
Absolutely, and people started living into their 60s
What they call
and
this
70s.
soot from open fire inside houses.
Yeah. None of this, Ministry of Health. And similarly now today, for example, we talk about road, just take the two biggest causes of death, sir. We're talking about road traffic accidents, nothing to do with the Ministry of Health. Yet, that's how much of cost is coming to the Ministry of Health from all these other...
the trauma injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's look at cardiovascular disease. Largely, again, still a disease of lifestyle.
It's lifestyle. I mean, yes, of course, as a doctor, you will tell me genetics does play a part, but it's still lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
You can still mitigate the risks.
Absolutely. And I make a case that all these can be done by economic measures in no small part.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks for painting a bleak picture here. But I'm sure there are some optimism left in you, Doctor.
No, for sure. There's a lot.
So, what would be the 3 or 4 things that you want to share with us in terms of how do we address this?
Absolutely. So, one is, like I said, on an individual level, or your kind of nuclear unit, your family level, there are a lot of good decisions that you can make which will yield economic results as well as health results. So, and these are things which I think are, really beneficial. For example, people talk about, I don't have a garden. There's a reason why people living in rural areas in Malaysia live longer, healthier, happier lives. Even though they're not as economically well off as those living in the cities. It's an absolute kind of showpiece. For example, things like, is it possible to kind of set up a little corner of even your flat to have to grow your own kind of micronutrients? Why not? Microgreens. Not too difficult a task. But interestingly, returns a lot of quality of life. Returns quite a bit in terms of reducing mental kind of health factors. Interestingly, giving you quite a return on your economics as well. Imagine the food bills that start to go away from you not having to buy kale.
Contextualizing it to local produce. We're not talking about rosemary and thyme. We're talking about chili, daun kari, daun kesum.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with growing these kind of items.
And interestingly, what people don't realize is 3 servings of fruit, 2 servings of vegetables, 5 servings, which is essentially only about 4 tablespoons per serving, reduces your cancer risk by about 18-20%.
Yeah, of course, because
So-
high fiber diet,
Yeah,
high
absolutely.
protein, high vitamin diet, colon cancer reduction, for instance. Okay, what else?
Yep. So this is on an individual level, for example. On a community level, things like, for example, at workplaces or even within communities, we have lost, for example, this whole communal kind of. Humans are communal animals. We are creatures who need to be in packs, and a lot of communal activities. Again, I point to countries like Thailand, like China. We used to have a good culture of getting together and exercising, for example, in communities. This has disappeared entirely. Again, almost no costs attached to it. You get a really expensive gym membership, which you go to twice a year, and you rarely have any time for. But in countries, again, I point to countries like Thailand, China, within workplaces, already after work, you got hundreds of people getting together. Interestingly, restoring mental health, physical health at almost this huge economics gain without any kind of economic costs attached
But
to
I do
it.
see some pocho crowd, right? Where
Yeah, but again, if you notice, outside the city, in smaller towns, I can see this happening in like Kuala Kangsar, Tapa, and all that. Orang KL kita atas, bro. It's too, so things
but
like
it's
this.
it's not just. Of course, it's the cardio part and the community part, but it's the mental health.
Absolutely, I cannot understate it.
If anything, arrest the mental health decay. And the growing concern of loneliness in an urban setting. Yeah. And from a national perspective, a national policy perspective?
Okay, from a national policy perspective, I think the biggest thing to look at is everybody outside the health sector needs to start looking at, within my sector, what can I do to actually give national health returns? There are many things that many ministries or sectors can do, which will ultimately, I argue, they'll even give them their own sector and economic kind of gain as well, but also have this huge multiplier effect on health.
Do you think that Malaysia is, optimistic or heading in the right direction in terms of looking at this, or do you think that we are completely unaware of this and we got everything backwards?
So I think we have started looking in the correct direction, but our direction, in the sense that as a nation, you can start to see that people have this kind of a bigger tendency or propensity to kind of look at their health. For example, about 8-9 years ago, if you went to Lake Gardens in the morning, it'd be dead. Now, even on a weekday, it's full.
Yeah.
People are starting to kind of look at their health, move a bit more.
Yeah.
So, but what's not there?
It's a new flex, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a new flex. People are eating less, they're eating healthier. I hope they're eating healthier. God knows it's expensive though.
Yeah.
So things like this are starting to happen. But is it making enough of an impact? Question mark. But for sure what we're lacking is institutional kind of cohesion around policies which are health promotive, but also economically incentivizing.
But I guess I can agree with you. We are heading in the right direction. It's just how fast are we going?
How fast are we running? Are we running fast enough to beat the cardiovascular, the heart attack that's creeping on?
No, you know this for a fact. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
especially if you're a male and you have comorbidities. I don't think.
Absolutely.
I don't think we're gonna last long.
Yeah.
What about cancer growth in Malaysia? No pun intended. But the people with suffering from cancer, being the head of NCSM, do you think that the cases are getting more severe and frequency and recency and prevalence is also increasing?
Prevalence is increasing. We're seeing a lot more cancer.
Wow.
That's for sure. But this is not a Malaysian phenomenon, globally as well. There's just a lot more cancer. Our problem, which remains very significant, is we still about 70% of our cancers are being picked up in late stages.
Yeah, because of your earlier statement just now.
Absolutely.
The health screening part was...
That is a huge system failure. We're trying our best to start fixing it. It's a long process.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
But in terms of prevalence, but in terms of incidences?
Absolute numbers are creeping up, that's for sure. But in terms of the population, it's also a population that's living much longer as well.
Yeah.
Compared to like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I mean, and this is the good news and the bad news, I suppose. 10 years ago, all my teachers died of heart attacks.
Yeah.
They were dead by the time we finished university.
Yeah.
You know, now they're all still alive, but they're picking up cancer.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a demographic shift as well.
Yeah.
But also, again, the problem is, and again, this is the economic cost. Because we're picking it up so late, we're spending about
so
up
much,
to about 10 times more
Yeah.
trying to treat the same people.
Yeah, when earlier prevention could have actually managed the cost lower.
Yep, 10 times cheaper.
Yeah, and then chemotherapy can be done earlier. And perhaps even at least warning signs are there, so you can even prevent it altogether.
Yep, absolutely.
Is it a stigma issue?
Yes, but also an economics issue. Because it comes back to I have to pay. The way things are nowadays, our insurance doesn't really pay for you to get screening. So it's something you have to pay out of pocket. But do I, for example, at the end of the year, prioritize my kids punya baju sekolah?
Yeah.
Or, so it becomes a kind of pick and choose thing. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But also perhaps the take home is pay a little more attention to making that choice a little better rather than picking up the new phone that's from that fruit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we make choices which are expensive but not necessarily correct.
And I think if we get a lot more political actors coming in and understanding this issue better, then they can perhaps design a policy program or national policy that is a little more facilitative in this grand design.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you think it's a long way? Or you think that this is a...
I think if we started, like I was talking to you about this, the My 50, that's an interesting kind of policy which was rolled out actually to save money, but has very interesting unintended positive effects. I'm hoping people can do stuff in mind having intentional positive effects for health.
And if people want to learn more about this, do they go to the National Cancer Society Malaysia's website or any other resources that they want to learn more?
I mean, there's a lot of people talking about economics and health. I think I shouldn't plug.
Yeah.
But a lot more of my work on the edges is exactly going to be around this.
No, you should plug.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to do advocacy as well, but that op-ed in the Edge is actually quite a very interesting piece to read. Thank you very much. That was Professor Dr. Muralidharan Munisamy, the Executive Director of the National Cancer Society Malaysia. If you want to learn more about this or the kind of shows like this, just head on to astroawani.com and find out more there. Also, do read up on Professor Dr. Murali's work as well. That's quite an interesting piece that you can get from bibs and bobs here. And also drive up the subscription numbers of the Edge. We're helping out a fellow journalist here as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Catch you in the next one. Thank you, Dr. Murali.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.